What's good? You rocking with your boy TheCzarr, all rights reserved. Now, before I get started, before I even say the Cash App, I wanted to say not one time, and you can ask every commenter and hit that like button, honestly, if this is fact. Not one time did I tell a commenter they had to donate for me to do their story. Matter of fact, ones that donated, most of them came after I started their story, after they saw it was up. That's not how I look at questions. I look at what's relevant to stuff I want to talk about or how it fits into the narrative of where we're headed. So, I mean, and any commenter can co-sign that. So I don't have a lot of explaining to do. I'm just saying to those throwing slander, like, I must comment. And, you know, I got to put you out there. June Nolan, you put that out there and said that. And I don't know why you said something like that, because it's definitely not true. And everybody who actually did donate and just not throwing out slanderous rhetoric can co-sign me on that. That's why I kind of laughed at it, but I just wanted to mention that quick. But you know what the Cash App is. $, capital THE, capital CZARR, and it will be. So those who do support the channel, I'm very thankful for what you do. I'm thankful for how you guys contribute to help me growing and reaching my goal. The GoFundMe link is always in the description, as well as any PayPal information or any Cash App information. And yes, I am going to push that, because that's the way I'm going to be able to do more in the future and give better content, as well as eventually get on camcorder and deliver higher definition videos. And we're going to examine evidence when I do these different subjects. I plan to do a lot more with the channel than I'm even at now, and I'm grateful the way it's growing. I want to see it continue to grow. One of the best ways you can support, if you're not going to donate, hit the like button. That's the best way. But those who do donate, thank you very much. And yes, if you do donate, your questions are considered at a much higher rank, just out of respect to you supporting my goals. I support your questions, and together, Commenter Nation is just going to grow. Next up, we have Bettye Simmons. What she basically mentioned was the difference between FBI and local police investigation, and sort of like why they reached out to these guys how they did, versus doing what they needed to do with information beforehand, reaching out to the higher power to receive assistance in this case. I do very much agree with you, honestly. I don't have anything negative to provide other than a narrative to why, what, and the different reasons and probability of them handing this case over to FBI versus them handling it alone. Now, you got to understand, local police do have special teams and special people who are trained to handle cases of this nature. They also have special skilled people around them that are able to take over a case at any moment's notice when a specialized situation arises. The thing that they reached out to FBI for was, I think they were more nervous that these guys could have left the country. That was one thing I had talked about. If these guys were smart, they would get out of country. And the FBI have a larger network and a broader, let's say, relationship with people to track down criminals of this nature. Now, another factor that I think played into the point of why local investigation didn't hand it to FBI is because Broward County wanted to get the notoriety for catching homegrown alleged criminals, or in their mind, leaving the country, they would see them as terrorists because they're a threat to humanity, being they considered them for murders. Now, they're still considering them innocent until proven guilty. That's our system. But you got to understand that they look for more implications and evidence to prove their factor. One factor would be that most of the men involved, if not all of the men involved, had felonious past. That shows that they really had nothing to lose since they were considering them, and that they were involved in alleged violent past. That was another consideration in their mind. Another thing that would add to why they wanted to take this case is because if you research Broward County and the different entities they actually have, they do have a past of catching criminals that are dangerous, but it seems like they don't have a good tenure to keep these criminals locked up after they commit heinous crimes, and according to what their documents state. So I think that they wanted to kind of clean up their own mess in a sense. So that would be why they stuck to the case and would not hand it over. Federal investigations, the Bureau of Investigation, actually, the reason that they are slow to do something of this nature and to, let's say, add variety to when they're doing local investigations, or even if they had to go nationally, is because they not only want the credit for doing it, not only do they want to make sure that they're in touch, literally, to be hands-on with people who are considered criminals, but it gets a bit deeper. Now, the reason I say that part is because FBI doesn't play around. If they're getting involved, that's more money added to the situation as far as what they already had spent in the weeks coming. Plus, they caught only so many people, and they had information to retain and investigate only so many people, vice versa, to a situation of involving higher powers that would cost more. And it's linked to their payroll, if I'm not to be mistaken, that their precinct directly could be charged for having involved these people. Now, money is the underlying factor, if you get where I'm headed. The financial backing, the financial costs, everything goes onto their statement at the end of the year. So they have to make sure they're certain of it. So being that they found evidence in the grandma's car, we can tell they didn't do a thorough enough investigation in the first place, which would show us that their intelligence was low. Not their, let's say, exact intelligence, even though we see they made mistakes, but their intel as far as what they knew about these guys, what they knew about who they know, about what they're going to do, and about overall where this case could take them. They didn't know if these guys could have went to Europe. They don't know. And we could say felons can't travel, but there's a lot of fake documents and ways to reinforce fake material of the sort in order for them to get I'm about to show you what I just seen. In order for them to get the outcome that they want. Part of why I was looking down is because recently there was I don't know if you can see it. There was a police cart, literally a cart that had police on the side of it. They put it in my spot. That's funny. Doesn't mean anything, but you know, just funny, something to think about. But ultimately, the reason they wouldn't hand it over is because they don't want to take the expense. See, they already spent so much money to try to build up a case, and then when you hand it over, the costs only go through the roof. That is why they acted off their intel that somebody was in Georgia. Then they acted off their intel that somebody was all the way up near New York at one point in time. So they were actually tracking these guys. So they were extending out their special forces and their special needs to only reach the places they needed to reach. That's very important if you think about it, because that would allow them to not only standardly place a case how they need it for the amount they need it, but to only use powers and people that they needed to use. Now, we already discussed the methods. I know you were around. You're a normal commenter. Thank you for that. Also a donator, so thank you for that. And that's not why I'm reading your question, but it actually fits something else I want to detail, that we'll soon begin to see them working other methods. And what they're going to do is copy a lot of federal methods that they think would be useful in this type of situation. And there's going to be many different methods. And as they use them, we'll discuss each method in detail. I do think, though, that handing it over to the FBI would have not only closed in on their enemies / criminals faster, but it would have allowed them to not only put cuffs on the guys when they needed to, but also provide a narrative to what further needed to be done. There's many different aspects that we could look at of why they should have, but we can also look at the aspects of why they should not have. So in that sense, being that if I could find reasons that I shouldn't, but I could also find reasons I should, I'm going to go with the reasons I shouldn't first, being that I'm a local bureau and my goal overall is to provide a good look for my precinct and my department. If that was the case, that would be why they chose to do different things how they did it without having any type of issue in between. Now, what's most important on the side to note is the method they're using now, requesting DNA when after they bragged, when a police force brags, they put it out to the public, and they put it out to make people think they got answers. We don't know if they really got the answers or evidence that's relevant to the situation. But what we can realize is that a factor that's very important is that we do see that they're pushing to have some type of analysis that will lead to further understanding of a true case that could definitely put these men away. That's why I said these lawyers need to be up on whether they should hand over the DNA for a suspect or not. And they need to have a good reason. One of the main reasons I gave was a theology and an ideology, but can they basically prevent them from getting the information that they really want to get? That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal. And looking into further situations dealing of this nature, once it goes federal, you got to understand there needs to be some understanding of a definite murder, not only a definitive murder, someone who may have connections and may be considered dangerous, also that may have a past that they feel responsible for, that needs to go to a higher level because they do not feel this person can be approached by normal means. This would be they don't know your connections, they don't know who else you're affiliated with, or even if they do know who you're affiliated with, it can be other well-known career dangerous criminals. So they would feel it would be out of their jurisdiction. Whenever a precinct feels it's out of their jurisdiction, it's for a good reason. And they didn't really know yet because they had the ability to track these individuals. But at the same time, we see they did get these individuals, which was a good check mark in their look for them having taken up the case to hunt these men down on their own. I have another commenter coming up. That commenter is blessed to be a blessing. We're going to discuss what it is you talked about. And I hope that kind of answered your question, Bettye Simmons. If not, I'll do another video and I'll reach to do a Zach answers. But until then, you know how I rock. All rights reserved.